May the face of the Lord shine on you. May He shower His blessing on all that you do. May you never know anguish, sorrow, or strife. Dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of your life.
Howdy, I'm Sue Ellen Jackson, and this is Aware Central Texas Effects of Child Abuse and Neglect. Stay with us for the next few minutes. We have a very interesting discussion up ahead, and I have a very special guest with me here today. His name is Joyner Martin.
Yes.
And you are a very special person to me, and tell us who you are and what you do.
Well, I'm a pastor of Freedom Bible Fellowship, and I'm also I work with jail ministry, Jesus Acts in Inmates' Lives. Been doing that for 10.5 years, and just a lover of Christ and love to follow Christ.
Amen.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be talking today about the effects that having a parent in jail, the effects that it has on children. And it's very interesting and it's very powerful, the effects that happen, the things that happen to children when a parent or a loved one is in jail.
Right.
There's that, we've talked a lot about that cycle of generational things being passed from one generation to the other. And if a family member, especially a parent, goes into prison or jail, there's so much shame involved in that, and we want to talk about that and look at that today. So grab a glass of iced tea or a cup of coffee, put your feet up, and stay with us for the next few minutes. Joyner, you and I have been talking, and we're friends, and
right.
We kind of know each other, and we know a little bit about each other's stories. But I called and wanted you particularly to be on this show for several reasons, because you're a strong man of faith, and also you know about anger. You see it in the jail ministry.
Right.
You've seen what happens to the children. You've seen the looks on their faces. Mm-hmm. And not only that, you've seen the anguish that the people that are in jail have in worrying about what's going to happen to my children. Mm-hmm. What are you hearing from the parents that are incarcerated?
Well, see, when I came back here in 01, you know, since I've been to prison myself twice, been to jail more times than I can count, it runs real deep with me when you talk about that, because first time I went to prison, it's a very interesting deal. I got locked up January the 3rd, but the thing that was really interesting about it is that January the 3rd, I had also took my son home. He was born November the 21st of 1979. January the 3rd of 1980, I was locked up for a burglary of a habitation, incarcerated, and when I returned from out of prison, it was 17 months later. I went in January and came out May of 81. So you're talking about a 17-month span there where you don't see your son, but the good thing about that was that he was young when I went in. So he really didn't get to experience a lot of the anger that some of the older children have to experience. And that's what you really see is the neighborhood that they was raised in, how they was raised, because like you were talking about with that generational deal, a lot of times they expect that. A lot of times it is an expected part of their life. Now, on the other hand, there is that angry part, and that anger part is that the parent is gone and they're locked up. And our society don't deal with that real good. In other words, The child is made fun of, the child is laughed at because of the media, because of the paper, and they begin to bear the crime or the whatever the parents are locked up for. The children now have to deal with it.
Wow. So it kind of becomes their sentence.
Oh yes.
Too.
They go to school, people making fun of them, people know about they know that their mother's in jail, or they know that the father's in jail. And then what you have this tendency, because once that happened, once that trauma come into this child's life, they have a tendency to go one or the other way, depending on the peers that's around them, depending on how caring the society is or the group of people that they interact with on a daily basis. Like in the church community, you have the tendency of having people coming in and taking the place of the mother and the father that is missing. So they kind of like raise a standard up to block the child from the full effect of what they could have. In other words, the father in this church began to father this other child. So the child have a transfer, they still have a model, and they still feel acceptable. They still have someone to affirm them and to confirm them as a child. And they don't, but now on the other hand, if they're not connected with a church, then they are left to themselves. They're left, like you said, to interpret their own meaning. And that's where the anger come in at. That's where the hurt come in at. And then no one comes to their aid, because most people don't know how to react to that kind of behavior.
Right, because you see the child and you see the anguish on their face and
That's right.
however that manifests.
And it manifests pretty bad in the classroom, on the playground.
Acting out behaviors.
Acting out behaviors.
Right.
And what we do is we deal with the act, and we don't dig deep enough to find out what causes that act.
Why is this child behaving in this way?
That's right.
And then because of, I'm not a therapist, if I see a child acting out, it's almost like you have to deal with that imminent situation, especially if they're in school and stuff. So it gives this child maybe the opportunity to harbor this. And like you said, there's churches, and I know about your congregation. You open your arms and love everybody, and you see the importance of having a safe place for these children who are hurt and lost, and they see that their parent is in a bad place because they did something bad. You can't deny that.
That's
true. You can't cover that up.
But the child shouldn't have to bear the reproach of the parents, and yet in our society we kind of categorize them and we label them and say that they're 6 times more likely to follow the traits of their parents. And from a spiritual perspective, that is so mean to put on a child, because it says death and life is in the power of the tongue. And so when you begin to speak that over this child's life,
you're almost cursing them, aren't you?
Because you're setting them up for failure.
Absolutely.
They said they did a study where if you tell a child one thing negative, it takes 17 other people to come and to correct that negative statement that you made over that child's life. All their life they've heard, most of the time, you're going to be just like your sorry dad. You're going to be just like your sorry mom. You're going to be this,
so
and
they're
this.
defining that child.
That's right. And so
makes me crazy.
It does. But see, but then again, there's some truth to it, except from a biblical perspective, and it's not. Jesus says, bring the little children to me.
Right.
And don't leave them out there in the wilderness. We do a lot of work with parents when they get incarcerated, but a lot of times there's no one to go and do work with the children, which is what you're doing today, is showing them that they're not alone, that they have a voice, they have someone that is listening. Right. Now, like with myself, like I say, first time when I seen my son was 18 months old when I finally got to see him again. And again, because of my own addictive mindset and lifestyle, I ended up going back to prison at a much later age. And then sad part about it is that I had set this pattern up for my son to follow. Right. And I had made incarceration like something that is expected of his people group and of our people group and of our community. Right. And so sad thing that happened was I get out of prison in '98 and my son go in '01, and my son ended up doing 9.5 years in prison. Right. It's like you pass that curse on. And so yes, I began to share with people that someone have got to take the initiative to break that chain of addiction. And it's so much more to it. You can teach a breaking of of generational curse in a very negative way, because you make it to where it's like, just don't go to jail, don't do this, and don't do that, but you don't give any positive.
You don't give them a path or an outlet, a way to do that.
That's right.
You know, years ago I worked with incarcerated, adjudicated delinquents, and I was amazed because some of these kids would actually, their identity would be that they clearly saw that their path was, I'm a gang member, I'm a criminal, I'm going to prison, that's where I'm going to be, that's cool, and that's where my future is, and that's where I'm headed.
That's true.
You know, it's so sad because it doesn't have to be that way.
And that's why we have to bring in the positive side of it,
right.
you know, and you know, because there's stories, there are stories of where one sibling goes totally the opposite. In other words, they become very successful. They become very. I mean, in spite of everything in spite of everything that happened in their life, they become productive in their society.
Yeah, I've seen that.
They're raised in the same neighborhood, raised by the same parents. They encounter the same experiences, but we don't talk too much about that because this other one is so damaging, is so rampant, that this is the one we have to pay attention to.
And that's something. Yeah. I've seen that too. And actually, if we have the opportunity later in the show, I would like to share a story where I saw that personally in my own family firsthand.
That's right.
Where, you know, there's such a separation in the direction that children that grew up in the same household went.
That's true.
You know, it's so what that tells me is that it is possible to move away from that. So we have a lady named Eleanor, and she very bravely was willing to come forth and share her story with dealing with children in prison and how it's impacted her whole life and her whole family. And this is a hard thing to do because people don't want to share this story. Let's watch this.
Hello, my name is Eleanor Rollins, and I'm here to talk about the effects that going to jail has on the kids. I have a daughter that was 42, it's 42 now. She went to jail, she started it. Her daughter, I took to jail to see her when she was 13. When she come home, when I held her in my arms, and she cried her heart out. It's a loss. Now this daughter is 27 years old, and she has 4 children, and she went to prison for 18 months this last time. She even had to have her baby in prison. The kids go through so much drama, lost. They're just lost. They don't know where is their mama. The 18-month-old would look up and see the picture and cry his heart out. Where is my mama? Where is my mom? The 8-year-old, she would become so rebellious, and they're lost. They're just lost. They look at the pictures on the wall of their mom. Where is their mom? And this time around, the girl is 12 years old, the boy is 8, there's a 3-year-old and an 18-month-old. And their mother is home now, and hoping that what I've done with the younger ones, that it has made a change in their life, because they're not alone. I would say I would take them down to the church. I didn't know how to deal with it all because I'm from the old school. I'm a great-grandmother, and it's a new generation now going on. But I would have them to write their feelings down or talk to me about it. And the thing that would get me with the girl that's 12 years old, her name is Oriana, is nobody would understand what's going on in her head. Nobody knows what's in their head because they're just lost. Who do they trust if their parents ain't there? And then the system, what are they going to do? The 8-year-old boy, he dealt with so much anger. The younger ones, they missed her, but yet they didn't know the whole facts with her. But the older ones, and to me, I had to get counseling with them for them to go ahead and get their feelings out, because I was trying to break a pattern, and I don't know if it's broken or not. but to teach them the right and the wrongs, and that no matter what you do in life, there's consequences. And when I would take them to the jail, which I hated to do that, and I would hold them in my arms as we come home, and they cried. They didn't want to leave their mom. They wanted to steal their mom from the prison. And this went on for 18 months this last time, and off and on she's been in prison, or been in the jail system. And I'm just trying to make a difference to let you know that no matter what you do in life, there's consequences. But the children, why do the children have to pay? So if you look at them babies in the eyes, and the babies look back at you, and they talk to you, and they say, Mom, you're not doing something right. Or when they go to the grandmother and they say, Grandma, you need to talk to my mom. Something's not right here. She hasn't got her head on right again. They're telling you right then, they're scared inside. They don't want to be out here by themselves. They get used to one pattern of life, and then all of a sudden everything is uprooted. The security, and these babies need the security. And just to break a cycle, just to know that the kids have a place to come home to from school, that their mama's not going to be locked up, knowing that they're going to eat supper at a regular time, do their homework, go play, take their shower, and they got a bed to sleep in. Instead of the cops knocking on the door, taking their mama out, and then knowing that you're going to have to go back up there to the prison and see them.
The story you just heard from Elnor is hard to listen, but I think it's also hard to share. We know of some other families that have family members in prison and asked them to come and share their story, but they just couldn't. It's just too hard. So I want to thank you, Elnor, for being brave and for sharing that story. And I know it's weighed heavily on your life for years. Wow, you know, she is dealing with third generation incarceration.
That's true, and we said, you know, like you say, at the jail, when I come out, I see a mother that's sitting there, and you can tell she is totally out of place. And then you sit there, and it'll just come out, and the anger that is there, you know, in the children, because like you say, today in our society, grandmothers, grandparents, let's just say it this way, are now beginning to be the parents again.
Like Elnor.
Yeah.
Actually, she's the great-grandmother, isn't she?
Right, she's the great-grandmother. But that is normal now. With jail ministry, we see that all the time, where grandparents that thought that they would just enjoy the rest of their life, they are now reparenting their grandchildren.
Stepping up and becoming the parents again.
They have to.
You know, it's like what we were talking about earlier, when children have parents that are incarcerated or family members, they get cursed.
Yep.
They have curses levied on their heads every day.
That's
in the
true.
School system. The kids pick on them, and you know, parents say, or family members say, you're going to end up just like your dad, and you know, sure enough.
Yeah.
We as a society, we need to rethink that. We need to scoop these people up and love them. We need to have more churches like yours, because you love everybody, you know, with the love of Jesus, and you know, people can walk into your church and they feel His love. Years ago, I worked in the prison system, and I had the opportunity I was working in the prison hospital, men's hospital, and I was passing through a common area, and there was a chaplain in there, and he was holding a prayer service.
Right.
And there were broken men there, and they had their IV poles, or they were on gurneys, they were in wheelchairs, or they were using walkers to get, you know, to this. And we're not talking about old gentlemen, we're talking about all ages. And as the chaplain was praying over and working with these guys, you could feel the presence of God there. It was probably one of the most moving services that I've ever had the privilege of being a part of. And I'm saying all that just to say that, you know, we need, as a community and as churches, we need to love the hurting and the wounded. we need to be fearful of judging other people. We need to scoop up the hurting and the wounded people and love them. I know a lady that is a professional, beautiful professional woman with 2 or 3 children who we invited to come on this show, but she absolutely could not do it. Her husband is in prison, and she is so ashamed, and she's struggling with that, but she does not want, she's fearful that it'll affect her career.
And it will. It's sad, but it does. And
Right.
you know, but see, another thing you have to look at is the people that's in jail, the people that's incarcerated, and I'm not trying to make excuses for them, but since I've been there myself, a lot of time it is that anger. It's a lot of anger that of being neglected as a child, you know. I mean, when that parent go to jail, going to jail was the finale. It was something that had been going on for years. It's not
Right,
something that
that's
just
the final
right. And so this child had been forced to endure this out of control, this dysfunctional lifestyle for years.
Right.
And at the same time, they have to go to school they have to go to school dressed less or not able to do things that other children can do because their parents, because of their dysfunctional lifestyle, are not able to provide for the child. So the child have a lot of anger set in. And then you have the disruption of family violence in the house. You have some parties that is going, you know, into late hours. And then the child falls behind on the grades. And then he's made to feel guilty that he's not upholding his end.
Like it's his fault.
Yes, but no one knows about the violence that is going on at his home. No one knows that he went to sleep hungry that night, you know.
Right.
And so at our fellowship when they come, that's one of the things that we look at because it is big. It's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
People are hurting. When people go to jail, they're very, for
It's
the most part,
devastating.
they're angry.
It really
you know?
is.
Yeah.
You know, this is hard for me to share, but I need to share this with y'all. I have one brother, a sibling. He's my older brother, and he's a Vietnam veteran, and he had 4 children. Two of the children are fine, upstanding leaders of the community. 2 of the children, one child, the youngest son, put a bullet in his head and killed himself. The oldest son, there were 3 sons and 1 daughter. The eldest son is in prison. And this darling little boy, full of wonder and hope. And I had the privilege of watching all these kids grow up and watching this boy. He's so precious to me. And he got involved with drugs, and he did something that has put him in prison for a long, long time.
Right.
And the thing that he did is a shameful thing. And he has 3 children. He has a teenage son who wants to change his name.
Right.
He doesn't want to have anything to do with his dad. And then he's got 2 smaller children who are in the hands of a mom who does not know how to be a mom, and a stepdad that, who knows?
Right.
You know, and so my brother lives in torment, worrying about his 2 smaller grandchildren and heartbreak over the fact that his older grandson wants nothing to do with his dad. He wants to just wipe the slate clean. He just wants it all to go away. It hurts. And my first reaction, I personally felt betrayed by my nephew. How could you do this thing? How could you do this to your family? How could you do this to the people that love you? And how shameful it is. But then I remembered that I'm not Miss Perfect either. You know, none of us are. And so I literally had to repent from that and ask his forgiveness and to love and support him. And thank God I'm able to do that now. It's been a wonderful relationship building for the 2 of us. But, you know, you don't realize the ripples of effect that it has.
That's true, but it's life after that, but it's hard. You know, like when I got out of prison in '98, you know, people expect for you to fail. They tell you that they don't, but they really expect for you to fail, and they pronounce curses over you. And so what you have to do is look at how do you replace all of that negativism. So you have to surround yourself with a good team of people that have faith in God, that believe that all things is really possible. And what we have to do as a society is really live out the proverb, the African proverb where it says, take a village to raise a child. And it does. It takes more than just the people in the house. A lot of times we stand around and we watch things, and it's infuriating to hear people say, well, I knew something bad was going to happen there, which means that you knew something was going on wrong. So why didn't you intervene? Why did you wait for it to happen?
We look away.
Yeah.
We always look away.
So we have a ministry now that's just starting off, and that's what it's doing. It's the children evangelism deal, and it's dealing with what went wrong. How is it that I'm left here and you in jail? And the way it is today, with our population numbers in prison increasing, then we all see that there's a need to be there for the child, to make sure that the child doesn't take this personally. Someone have to intervene. Somebody got to step in and begin to father or to mother those children. And that's why when Jesus was talking in Mark, he says that whosoever leaves something in this life will in this lifetime gain 100 homes. And he was going on to say mothers, fathers, and brothers and sisters. Because if you're in a body of Christ and we tell everyone, you need to be plugged in, because if something happened to that parent, God forbid that they should go to be incarcerated, but who's going to pick up the children? Who's going to take the place? Who's going to take that child up and begin to father that child?
Right.
There are some national basketball players and football players that are successful because someone looked upon them. They weren't raised in nice homes. They were raised in dysfunctional homes. But someone took them and loved them and was a pattern for them to follow.
Somebody cared.
That's right.
You can be that someone that cares. You. There are so many hurting children out there and family members, and you can so reach out and help them. You can encourage your church to follow Joiner's Church and to be willing to reach out with love and help these families. Sometimes it's hard to find them. You may not even know because of the shame that's attached with having a loved one in prison. It's a heartbreaking, shameful thing. And like Joiner was saying earlier, it didn't just all of a sudden happen for no reason. That's indicators that there were troubles along the way. And the good news is we don't have to live like that. And we can, like you said, the village concept, we've heard that in our culture, but do we really do that? When we see children that are distressed for whatever reason, do we really reach out and help them? If you know of someone, or if you're struggling with issues around people in jail or incarceration, and you just want to talk, please pick up the phone and call us at Aware Central Texas. We're there for you. The number is 254-939-7582. Joiner, thank you so much. It's always a blessing to be around you.
Thank you for allowing me to be here.
My pleasure.
May the face of the Lord shine on you. May He shower His blessing on all that you do. May you never know anguish, sorrow, or strife. Dwell in the house of the